Hey folks, it's Troy. Wanted to do a little gear list here today. I came back from hiking the Ouachita Trail, and this is the gear that I took to hike that hike. Sometimes when I come back after a hike, I like to review what I took and what I use so that I can eliminate those things that I didn't use or I don't need on a regular basis. But this is pretty much my standard gear list that I've used for a number of hikes. It varies slightly. Sometimes I add a few items, sometimes I take out a few items, but this is it. And so I thought it might be helpful to share that with you. Also, a lot of times when I get back from a hike, people always ask me questions about certain gear that I took, and this might be helpful for some of those friends that have asked me for information on the gear I took. To begin with, I'm just going to go over like the clothing that I like to wear, and I pretty much nailed it down to a few items that I take on just about every backpacking trip. One is this baseball cap, and it's just a trucker cap. I like it because it shades my eyes, but it's also ventilated, so when it's hot, my head can breathe. When it's cold, it provides a certain amount of insulation. This is some of the clothing that I like to wear, and this kind of pairs up nicely with the trucker hat. This is a Patagonia sun shirt, and I like it because it's a quick dry shirt, meaning that if I perspire or if it gets wet, it dries quickly. It has a hood, and so oftentimes I'll hike with a hood, and the hood wraps around my head, shields my face from sun. It also provides a little warmth over my head when it's cooler, but I like that a lot. It also has these kind of little extended arms, and it has these little finger holes to put your hand through, and that provides a little sunshade actually. So when in areas where you're hiking in sun, that helps to have protection over your hands. But I've been hiking with this shirt for a while, and I like it. It's light, and it sheds water well, and it's cool. These are the pants I typically wear. I think these are called Prana Zion convertible pants, and they're long pants that you can take the bottom portion off, and I like these a lot. They stretch and they dry quickly, and they're comfortable. So that's basically the clothing I wear. I'll often wear Darn Tough wool socks, and I like those a lot. These are the shoes that I wore on the Ouachita Trail, and these are ultra superior trail running shoes, and they're good shoes. I've been hiking with them for a while, and on the inside I have a removable insole that provides support, and it's made by Soleil. But those are good shoes. I've liked them somewhat. They don't have a lot of cushioning, but once you get used to them, your feet get stronger. The Ultra shoes are great. This is my pack that I've been hiking with for a while, and this is the Osprey Talon 44, and it's not an ultralight pack, but it only weighs about 2.25 pounds, so it's pretty light. I've been using it for a while, and I've taken it on a number of hikes, and I really like it. Let's see. It's a pretty traditional pack. It has a brain, some side pockets, top pocket, waist pockets. It has this little pocket here. So I'm just going to go through some of the things, and the way that it is right now, it's actually the way that I pack it when I'm hiking. And so I'm just going to show some of the things that I have here. Let's see, in the front, this is one of the nicest pockets. You can put all kinds of things, but it has this stretchy mesh zip pocket. And one of the things that I put in there is my poncho. And I always like to hike with a poncho because I use it in the event of rain to cover me and my pack. So it's kind of 2-in-1. But I also use it as kind of a ground cloth. Sometimes when I'm taking a break, I'll just set it on the ground and I'll sit on it, and it's large enough to spread out so that multiple people can sit on it. I use it as a sunshade sometimes. When it's hot, you can just string it up in a tree or with your poles, and it provides sun shade. So it's multi-use. I really like using it. And oftentimes when I'm reviewing the gear that I'm going to take on a trip, I just put my poncho down and I put things on top of it. And that's pretty much, how I kind of keep things in order. The other pair of shoes that I carry with me all the time are these Chacos. And I enjoy Chacos. They're a little bit heavy, but I like them because I use them as camp shoes to relax after I've hiked a long day. They allow my feet to breathe. I also use them, to cross rivers at times, and very often I'll just use it to hike in. I like having a backup pair of shoes in case something goes wrong with my primary shoes, or if I'm just tired of wearing my primary shoes, I'll switch over to my Chaco sandals, and I've hiked long distances in them, over 20 miles at a time. I use them often when it's raining and muddy. I'll just hike in my Chacos and my feet get wet, but then they just dry off. They're easy to clean. So I always like to bring my Chacos with me. Let's see, let's turn this around. And in this pocket, I always carry this little Swiss Army pocket knife, and it has a blade, it has scissors, can opener, screwdriver, actually has a wine cork, toothpick, tweezers, and a penknife. So this is one of my favorite little tools that I like to carry with me, Swiss Army knife. Let's see, over here, this is a light, and this is made by Petzl, and I'm not sure what model this is, but it has, your couple settings for white light as well as a red light. I always like to bring that with me. For navigation, I always have a compass, even though oftentimes I don't use it. It's good to have in the event of emergency or just to navigate with. But yeah, I always carry a compass with me. This is just a bandana. I like to carry a bandana for so many things. I use it as like a tissue sometimes to wipe sweat. I use it around the campfire when I'm cooking as like a hot pot holder. You can use it for all kinds of things. You can use it as a little bag. Let's see, the other things I carry here, these are my trekking poles that I use. And these are Black Diamond Z poles, and I've been using these for a while. I have a pair of Lakey telescoping poles, but I've been using these. I like these because they're very easy to pack and deploy and repack if needed. Basically, it just like that. You extend it, and it's ready to go. They're pretty light, and then when you need to collapse them, you just press that button, and they collapse. So I've been using those for about 2 years. Let's see what else I have. Over on this side, I generally carry a little water bottle, and this is just a half-liter Nalgene, but I like to use this half-liter because it's light, it's small, and I will put water in here, but what I often do is during the day I might put some electrolyte tablets in here, and then I'll mix it up, and I like to have that ability to have a bottle that can have water or electrolytes. These are easy to clean out, and they're reusable, so I like that part of it. This is another little item that I carry with me. This is a little container of mace, and I use this. I mean, it can be used on humans or animals for protection. And a lot of times, for the areas I go into, there are animals that might need to be protected from. Generally, most things stay away from humans. If you make noise, if you're not scared of them. But it's nice to have. Peace of mind can be used in situations with humans or animals. And in the Ouachitas, there are bears. We didn't encounter any, but there are also, squirrels, mice, raccoons, skunks, and coyotes. We heard quite a few coyotes at night. I don't think any of them came into our camp, and I didn't have to use anything to protect myself, but it's just kind of peace of mind. The other thing I carry, and this is these Osprey backpacks, they often have a slot in the back to carry a water bladder that has a tube. I don't often use that type of water bladder, but I do use this, and this is a Platypus 2-liter water bottle bladder. And I like this because it's light, it's packable, it collapses, and it carries 2 liters. So I will fill this up with 2 liters, and then I'll primarily drink out of my half-liter water bottle. When I take a break, I'll take water out of my 2-liter, fill it into my half-liter, and that's the way that I hydrate. I have that one that I'll always have water in, and then I have a secondary one, and I use this one sometimes around camp. So when you're at camp, sometimes you might want to wash or you might want to cook, and so it's good to have extra water. So if we're near a water supply or at the end of the day, I'll fill this up with extra water, carry it to camp, use it for things like cooking and washing. If somebody else needs it, it's nice to have around as well. The other thing I have in here, I think this is just a plastic garbage bag, and I don't always use it, but I like to keep it in here. And what I do use it for is in the event of rain, sometimes I'll put my entire bag inside this garbage bag at camp just so that water splash doesn't get on it. I also, if it's raining extremely hard, I will put this on the inside of my bag and put all my gear inside of it just to keep my gear a little waterproof. It's a pretty known method among backpackers to use. And in the event I need to, I can always use it as a trash bag to carry out trash. This is something else I keep back here, and this is kind of an irregular item. Not many people might carry this regularly, but this is a Tenkara style fishing rod. This is actually a Keru rod, but it's in the same, you use it the same way that you'd use a Tenkara fly fishing rod. It telescopes out, and basically you attach, these are the lines and the flies that I use. It's a super light system to fly fish. And so when I'm out in the wilderness areas, if there's the opportunity, I like to do things like that, fly fish. Let's see. This is the top pocket, and I use this little light. I think it's made by Night Easy, and it's a light that I keep attached to my backpack. The way I use it is when I'm at camp and it's night, and let's say I need to go out into the woods to gather wood or use the restroom or just explore. And sometimes when it's very dark at night, it's hard to find your camp. And so I'll use this light. It can be used as like a little lantern, and then it also has the ability to, I think, flash. Yeah, so I'll turn this on when I'm walking away from my campsite so I can find my way back to my campsite. And it's just a handy little light. Some other things I took on this trip was a Sawyer water filter, and it can be used with these Pelican bags. These are just some Wayfarer sunglasses that I actually picked these up in Korea, and I really like them. But I've been hiking with these for a while. Nothing fancy. This is a Patagonia Houdini wind jacket, and super light, super small, very compact. It's not completely waterproof like a rain jacket. It's a wind jacket. It blocks the wind really well, provides a little insulation when it's a little bit cool. But I have treated this with a waterproofing spray, so it does actually repel water pretty well. But I always carry that just as a little extra layer. This is my poop kit, and what I have inside here is a trowel to dig a hole, and I also carry some moist wipes, and I carry also a wag bag. And a wag bag is It's kind of an all-in-one method of pooping. It has, you poop in it, it has a towelette to wipe yourself, and it has a little bag to put it in. There's some areas where you need to carry out everything. So poop in the wag bag, it has a bag that you put everything in, you carry it out, and you leave no trace. So that's my little toiletry kit, and I keep it up here where it's nice and convenient, easy to get to. Let's see, I open up the brain. This is something that I don't always use, but sometimes I like to have. And it's just a 1-inch wide nylon webbing, I guess they call them a belt. But I use it, you can use it as a belt, but I often use it to hang my bag up in a tree. So if I want my bag off the ground, I'll just find a tree and I'll use this to hang it on the tree. And it's kind of nice to have. Let's see what else I have in here. Then I open up my main compartment, and the first thing I have on top is usually my insulating layer, and this is a Patagonia Nano Puff jacket. I've had this for a couple years. I really like it. Inside this pocket I have a buff that's used as net protection, like a scarf, or it can also be used as a beanie, hat. And these are just some lightweight gloves that I have in here. And I use the gloves both for warmth, sun protection, and then also they're just useful to have around camp when I need to gather firewood, or for protection from things around camp, or picking up hot items like the camp stove or something like that. This is my little ditty bag, and I have a few things in here. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I'll just highlight a few items. This is just toiletries, toothbrush, toothpaste, some medicine, a pen, a razor, eye drops, things like that. Let's see, this is kind of like a little extra bags. It has some cordage, first aid, some Leuko tape for blisters or bandages, a sewing kit with thread. It also has a battery pack, a power charger to recharge my phone, because I use my phone to take photos and navigation and so many things. And then this is a little stove, actually. It's called the Fire Ant, and it unfolds. You use twigs basically to start it, and you cook over like a little wood fire. I like to keep some cotton balls, a little container of Vaseline, a fire starter, it's like a fire stick, and then some aluminum foil. And so I can use this to cook with. It's also great as an emergency kit if I ever needed to use it as an emergency fire kit. And what I often just take out as my cook set is this simple stainless steel GSI cup. And I like it because I can cook over a stove, my wood stove, or a campfire. I just, put it right next to the campfire. Don't have to worry about it getting damaged. It has multiple uses. Let's see, next this is my food, and some of the typical food items that I will take on a backpacking trip. On this particular trip, I took some Mountain House meals, some Cliff bars, some granola bars, some trail mix, and a bag of salad, a bag of ready-made salad. And that worked out really great for us. Yeah. Let's see, the next thing I have in here is, this is my my sleeping arrangement. So I like to hammock camp. And so inside this pack, I have both a tarp, and it's the Kelty Noah Tarp 9, and I also have my hammock. And so it comes with all the cordage and everything like that, and it all fits in this little packet. And it has a few spikes as well to stake down the tarp. So I hammock camp a lot, and I like to do that not only because I like to sleep in a hammock, but I also find it's great, like in the afternoon when you arrive at camp, you set it up, And there's nothing better than just laying in a hammock, kicking up your feet and relaxing. And so for me, a hammock serves multiple purposes: for sleeping, for resting, for hanging out. It's just good. It's fun. Now, when it's cold, I bring this. And when you sleep in a hammock, when it's cold and the wind is blowing beneath you, it creates, I guess it's called convection. And so it actually can make your body colder than what it would normally be. And so I use this quilt as an underquilt of my hammock. Hang it up below my hammock. It has some elastic straps that I attach to my hammock, and this helps keep me nice and warm. Now when it gets really cold, and I've hammock camped in 45, 35 degree weather pretty regularly, but I also have been in weather where it's below 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And in those situations, I don't like to hammock camp, but I'll just cowboy camp. I'll lay my my poncho out, and I'll set up my tarp, and I'll lay on the ground. And my sleeping bag is only rated to about 35, but I'll use this down quilt inside my sleeping bag, and I feel comfortable. I've honestly been in weather to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and it keeps me very warm. And this is my sleeping bag. This is a Mountain Hardwear Lamina 35, and it's says it's a 35 degree bag. I've taken it down that cold by itself. It's really comfortable to about 40, 45 by itself. And then for me, if it gets below freezing, I like to use the quilt. And then this is just my bag of extra clothing. I don't carry much extra clothing. This is just a quick dry t-shirt, quick dry underwear, and an extra pair of socks. And oftentimes that's all that I'll bring in terms of extra clothing. When I'm on the trail, if I need to clean my clothes, I'll wash them at whatever water source I'm at. But oftentimes I just wear it over a few days, and that's all I take. But it is always nice to have a few extra items of clothing, especially if by chance your clothing gets wet. It's good to have something dry to change into. So that's pretty much all the gear that I took on this particular hike of the Ouachita Trail. It served me pretty nice. I don't think there were too many things that I didn't use. I didn't have the opportunity to use my fly fishing rod. It's a good thing I didn't have to use my mace. And I came back with a little extra food. I didn't use my wag bag, but I did use my toiletry kit, my poo kit. And I think that was about it. Everything else I did end up using. And so it worked out nicely. I always like to just take what I need and not much more than what I need. But I also like to stay safe. So that's a review of my gear list for the Ouachita Trail. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do plan to go on that trail, it's a really nice area. It's very seldom used, and so over the 3 days that we were hiking there, we only really encountered 3 people. 2 women that were coming the opposite direction, and one other hiker that was leaving the trail. And that's the only other people that we saw for the entire 3 days. So very little used trail, but it's a nice trail. It has like a lot of ups and downs, a lot of rocks, a little bit challenging in terms of that, in terms of the terrain. But having hiking poles was pretty nice, and wearing my trail runners were fine on that trail. All the other gear came in handy. And so if you're thinking about hiking the Ouachita Trail, I hope this might help you. Thanks once again for watching.